Gentlemen, good morning. I'm very happy to have you. We are here to describe and talk a little bit more about a new technology called Bruin. And I have Burak, who is one of the co-founder of this company, Bruin. And I have a special guest I know very well. He's a French guy. His name is Paul. And all together, we will discover what is Bruin and why you have created this solution and why it is needed on the market. And I'm very happy to have you, gentlemen, right now.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me, Stefan and Paul. Thank you. Lovely to see you both.
So yeah, the idea was no, it's up to you to tell the story and why you have built the solution and let
Yes,
us know more a little bit about your product.
absolutely. Thank you very much. So, maybe I can start with a quick intro about myself. My name is Burak. I'm one of the founders of Bruin. Bruin is a data infrastructure company. Um, my co-founder Sabri and I, we used to do data consultancy as well as in our jobs that we worked through various problems. We noticed that data teams were experiencing a last mile problem where there's a lot of data integration work that needs to be done, but at every step along the way of the data development lifecycle, data engineers, data professionals lose a lot of time trying to take over someone else's code. The development experience does not fit into the experiences of data analysts and data scientists. Across everything everyone builds in an organization like that, there's almost no visibility into who is doing what. And there's also no framework around how to build data products, how to build data assets, how to get value out of the data, which means there's a lot of work that's done, but the last mile to actually get people across the value chain is not bridged in that sense. This effectively causes companies to start building central data teams where you basically put a bunch of engineers in a single team. Those engineers start servicing other analysts, scientists across different parts of the organization. But a lot of people that have done this know that it very quickly turns into a service team that starts just take care of tickets with no context, with no understanding, and they quickly turn into being even bottlenecks in certain scenarios where these business teams have to wait for these various central teams to do some of the work because they cannot work by themselves. Yeah. When we started digging more into the problem and brought it together with our experience, we asked, what if the individual teams had the ability to work independently, but you still had the ability to have central teams that can govern their work? And this felt like different worlds, as if there's no way to actually bring these together. And then we started thinking about, can we bridge these worlds together? That's why we started building Bruin. Bruin is a centralized data product platform that brings together data quality, data observability, data governance practically for the last mile.
Yeah.
As part of this work, we do quite a lot of sort of tailoring the data development experience towards data analysts, data scientists, analytics engineers personas that allows them to ingest data, transform data, check its quality, etc., in a sort of centralized way.
Yes, and that was a big surprise, and that's why also Paul contacted me because he shared with me that the first surprise was to have all those features in one product because you can find many products doing data quality only. You
Yeah.
have some others doing observability only, but you
Yeah,
have decided to bring all the features together.
absolutely. So that was like, I think this sort of bundling and unbundling is a natural part of the cycle where every step of the cycle learns more from the previous steps. I think we are at a point in the industry where you have a lot of different solutions that are very good at single vertical, but actually bringing them together in an extendable, in a composable way unlocks a lot of additional value in that sense. That's why we thought, okay, can we actually bring these two different concerns together? And maybe a good example of this is data lineage, right? If you have bunch of different tools that ingest data, an Airflow cluster that does some of that, Airbyte does some of that, Fivetran does some other, and then you have some dbt models, and then you have some quality checks on Monte Carlo, and then maybe someone else wrote a cron job somewhere. It becomes very hard to bring data lineage together, which requires manual work. Whereas what we do made it apparent that if you were able to do all of these things in an end-to-end platform, lineage emerges automatically. It does not become it's something that people need to do. It pops up automatically,
Yeah.
So that was like sort of where we started thinking, okay, could these things be integrated well?
Okay.
And naturally, there's some trade-offs to that, right? But we are very optimistic that there are strong signals that it's actually working well together.
Okay. Okay. Good. So it's a complete platform, and if we want to compare with some others solutions, are you in the family of DBT, SQL Mesh,
Very nicely put.
DLT? In
Yeah,
which
we're very
category you
nicely
are?
put. So, I think we can stop sharing the presentation now. I don't think there's much I don't think people want to read this forever. Basically, if you think about DBT and SQL Mesh and SDF, effectively, these are taking care of the transformation layer, right? And there's a bunch of other tools as well that I might have forgotten, but these ones are, I think, amazing pieces of technologies. And if you think about the data ingestion part, there's DLT, which you guys know as well. There's Airbyte, there's Fivetran, etc. What we are doing sort of is to go maybe a layer above and think more about the breadth of the
Okay.
experience instead of just doing the data transformation. So in that sense, I would say Bruin, both on the open source and the platform, is more comparable to a stack that comprises of maybe Airbyte and DBT and Monte Carlo, for instance.
Okay.
Whereas it does not directly go in the same category as DBT. Instead, it complements DBT in certain cases, or it's an alternative to the stack itself.
Okay.
If
Good.
that makes sense.
That's what I liked with this project actually, and that's why it caught my eye. Like when you present stuff, you were saying that your vision is to help to centralize stuff, is to have a tooling to centralize all the way data is used in the company. And I'm not sure it's only this, because for us at Nickel, DBT already solves this. The difference you get is what you're telling is that you have what your vision is to build an all-in-one data platform with everything in it. Like at Nickel, actually, we managed to do what you do. Maybe I can introduce myself as well to get an understanding. Nickel, we are a fintech. We open current accounts. We opened 4 million current accounts in 10 years. We are 800 employees. I'm leading the data there. So we are 40 data people. And my vision in the 6 years I've been spending at Nickel has been to give the power to business teams, as you show in your slides, so that they can do everything with data. So actually, we built at Nickel more or less what you built. We have essential teams who built a platform, who built some tools to give the autonomy for all the teams to be able to do everything with data, be it ingestion, transform, advanced transformed, active in data activation. Data analysts can generate some algorithms, can deploy some algorithms as well. So what I think your difference is what you're telling is really the all-in-one data platform. You've got one tool. It's not only transform, it's not only observability, it's not only ingestion, it's the all-in-one. And this is different. And this is what I like about it.
I think you made a great example here, saying that you had to build all of these things yourself, a lot of these capabilities yourselves as well,
Yeah.
right? A lot of organizations had to do this, regardless of DBT. You don't have to rebuild DBT, but it just solves a part of the problem, right? You're going to have to expand to be able to give your analysts, scientists, business teams different abilities to deal with the data, right? And I think it's a very good example where building that kind of a thing is a company on its own, right? It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of engineering effort, a lot of money, a lot of time spent on that. What we're saying effectively is, can we build this in such a way that different pieces can be composed together. People can extend this, but we provide the underlying baseline so that they can get to the value immediately, right? And this being end-to-end, this being extensible, this being pluggable with different technologies allows us to offer that sort of extensibility, because not everyone fits into the same workflow, but with the right primitives, we believe we can expand to a lot of different use cases.
I think you're not the first one to try to bring this vision
Absolutely.
to provide a all-in-one data platform. I'm thinking about White 42, but what they aim to do is to package solutions together, like Airbyte connectors plus DBT, and you've got this cloud environment where you can manage everything. Can you tell us why you're different and why you're better?
Yes, absolutely. So, well, I think are we talking about the Y42 now or Y42 from a couple of years ago? Because I think I felt closer to their previous version than what they have these days.
We want to know everything.
But effectively, so there are a couple of things that I believe sets us apart. Yeah. First of all, with the previous version, they had the vision of bringing different concerns together in a sort of no-code way. I personally do not believe no-code. Yeah, I think it's a lie that people have to buy in, and it just doesn't work on an organizational scale. Yeah. So one of the things that we took to our hearts in the first day was everything needs to be through code. It needs to be through version-controllable text that companies can own and companies can manipulate themselves, right? They can use that in whatever way they want. So on top of that, we started thinking, okay, all of these need to be done by code, but also all of these need to be open source. So people can actually run these things on their infrastructure, on their cloud platforms, on their CI/CD pipelines, on their own computers, basically. They don't have to depend on us, right? And the third was, okay, a lot of people might have attempted this, right? But we're starting at a time where we have a lot of new technologies available to us. Can we make things faster and better? Yeah. Now, if I take a look at their current offering, which I think is a really interesting company as well, also another Berlin company that I love seeing these kinds of stuff coming out of Berlin. But effectively, what we said was there's a lot of technology out there that might have been built over time, but we have newer tools, technologies, libraries, stuff that we can rely on to build a better, more integrated experience. In that spirit, we do not deploy Airbyte for data ingestion. Instead, we build an open source project that allows you to ingest data from a lot of different sources into destinations using DLT, right? It has a lot of capabilities that Airbyte doesn't have, but it also gives us the flexibility to rely on the most recent pieces of technology, right? For instance, we have data ingestion capabilities inside Bruin through your user code as well, where you simply return a data frame and then we take care of uploading that into whatever destination you want. We rely on Arrow for this to be able to make this in a performant way, in an accurate way, etc. So these sorts of technological decisions, combined with the fact that we are bringing these different things together in open source, in code, allowed us to sort of innovate in parts that maybe was not possible a couple of years ago. Okay. So in that sense, that's why we are different, both from older version of Y42 versus what they do today, right? Bruin can run DBT, but it's completely independent from DBT in that sense. It can hook into an existing Airbyte installation, but it's completely independent from that. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, so you are a code first. You have a code first approach,
exactly.
And you are reusing some others open source component as well.
Exactly. Okay. We do use DLT heavily. We're big fans of their work. We started using the library from very early releases, and Ingester, one of our open source projects, is, and I'm proud to say this, it's effectively a DLT wrapper. Okay. We just had a different way of looking into how that interface should look like and what the behavior should be. And we customized it for that need without actually preventing from people using DLT. Bruin supports both our pre-built connectors, but also Python. So you can do whatever you want yourself as well. You don't have to use what we do.
Okay. And if I remember well, you have started 1 year ago. So this is absolutely great to have such a product after 12 months of development. Maybe you have started at a customer site, or what was the starting point of this development?
So we started building parts of this on the side, but I think what made us be able to move fast here was we started building on a stack that we know very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did not want to lose any time on technology friction, and instead we said we want to deliver as quickly as possible and get to the value as quickly as possible. And this happened through some of our first customers where we delivered a very bad product, but we delivered it as quickly as possible. You know, the first version of Bruin was absolutely terrible. It was the worst possible experience, but it got the job done to a certain extent. And then once we had those fundamentals right, effectively being deployed to production from the first week on, it allowed us to iterate on what's important and what's not. You know, if you look at our open source tooling, you're still going to see a lot of rough edges, you know, a lot of things that might not be 100% of what they can be, but we try to focus on delivering that 80% of the value as quickly as possible, which is what allowed us to expand into these different things. But I also think we stand on the shoulders of the giants. So a lot of things we delivered are relying on open source tooling such as DLT, such as Airflow, such as learnings from tools like Airbyte or 5chan or existing other connectors, and also from our customers' feedback. You know, so
Okay.
both myself and Sabri, my co-founder, we hate building things in isolation. We feel like we're just stuck in the same place. So we try to release something as quickly as possible so people can say, no, it's terrible. And then we try to figure out what to fix, or they say, no, I like this. And then we try to double down on that, you know? So
Okay.
within this year, this was like the core focus for us to get right.
Okay, so just before we have talked about integrating the integration, because with the modern data stack, you have to assemble components together and make
Yeah.
them work. So here you have a stack where it's already integrated. So
Yes.
we can expect something smooth when you start a project. What's the first step when you start a project? I think it's can you describe a little bit more this step?
Absolutely. So, well, the fact that Bruin is an integrated solution also on our open source means that the first step that people usually start building data pipelines is through some of our pre-built templates. I'll give you an example. We have a Shopify BigQuery template that if you run Bruin init Shopify BigQuery, you're going to get a pipeline that has built-in data ingestion and data models built out, all documented with built-in quality checks, which means the first benefit that you get out of this first step, starting with Bruin, is you get the value immediately within minutes. You know, this, you put your credentials in, you run the pipeline, it ingests data into whatever database you want, and then runs the transformations on top of that. So you get a data warehouse as quickly as
That's
possible.
really the strength of your product, of having everything inside it. And so you provide templates for ingestion, but as well for transforms.
Exactly. So we have sort of opinionated templates that we think how these data should be modeled, and provide those as baselines. We have templates that are as simple as, like, I don't know, chess.com, so that you can get started with no authentication. We have templates for platforms like Google Analytics, Firebase data, being able to process that, but also platforms like Shopify or Notion, etc. You know, we meant those as starting points so that people can actually start from them, get the value, and start iterating from them. And even if they don't like those templates, even if they don't like the data models, even if there are shortcomings there, it's just SQL. They can edit whatever they want. It's just Python. They can edit whatever they want. You know, so that sort of, we want to let people to start immediately without having to talk to anyone, without having to wait for anything or do manual work. You know, and that we can do because it's integrated.
Mm-hmm.
You could not do that if you had to think about 10 different tools for ingestion, 10 different tools for transformation, etc. Right? So once people have a pipeline sort of running on their computer, it's effectively ready to go. Depending on if they want to use Bruin CLI, our open source tooling, it means they can simply run it on GitHub Actions. We have built-in Actions support that can run these on a regular basis. They can put it on a Lambda. They can put it on an Airflow, or they can put this in a cron job. And on another alternative, we provide a cloud platform that effectively provides a managed environment for all of these, where they connect their repo, and it immediately pops up in the UI with built-in reports, data catalog, search, sort of a lot of advanced features that we offer, especially to enterprises. And that's the point where they actually start scheduling things, you know? So the way I think in my mind is it's 2 steps. First is the local development experience, and then the production deployment, which can be done in various ways. Our aim is to provide the best local development experience that can be complemented, hopefully, with a commercial offering that provides the best experience for people that they get value out of.
I'm interested in knowing more which are the companies you target. Like, because what's interesting with this product is that you can mix SQL with Python. At Nickel, what I try to do is to make data analysts and people in teams not even need Python, so that they can do everything with SQL with configuration. What I like with this setup is that SQL is so easy today that 200 of the 800 employees are using SQL every day to make SQL queries, and so it makes it very easy for anyone to ingest data, transform data, activate it, and people only with SQL configuration can deploy machine learning real-time algorithms. Like it's SQL first. With your setup, you also permit some Python. What's your target? Is your target some companies, some big companies, small companies, some companies starting with a data platform and they want to start with Bruin, or some companies that want to migrate? What's your target?
There are different types of teams and types of companies that benefit from Bruin, but effectively a couple of things that make them a good target for us is they often have various sources that they need to get data from, and they had to build these from scratch. They have a high ratio of engineers to analysts and scientists, and they spend significant amount of time and effort and money into building and maintaining their data platform, right? The moment that these different bits come together, it effectively tells me that there's value that we can generate out of that. With regards to SQL first and allowing Python, we believe 90% of the job should be done and can be done with SQL, right? But that's also one of my problems with no-code tools, where it's okay if we can do the 90%, but what am I going to do with the 10% that's left? If I can build all of my transformations in SQL, I did that, and someday, for some reason, I need to build something in Python myself, that barrier should be very small, very incremental. Whereas in today's world, if you're using a no-code platform for that, you're going to have to start from scratch building the infra to be able to run Python or any other language. Same if you're running DBT. If everything is in SQL, amazing, right? It works flawlessly. The moment you need to add a bit of Python, the moment you need to do a custom stuff in that, that's where companies had to figure out, okay, now I need to plug in Airflow here, or set up Lambdas, or set up some other things, you know? So the way I look at it is, it's the extensibility that we favor rather than having to build things in Python. So we have, and maybe that's an important point, what we were thinking here, where we said, okay, individual teams can work independently, central teams can govern their work, in the sense that you, Paul, can say, hey, none of my teams should be building Python assets, everything should be in SQL. So you can write policies in Bruin that enforces people to use SQL, but the underlying technology allows you to run Python, because I think you would agree as well that not all of your use cases can be solved with SQL. A big majority, but there's always going to be exceptions, right? So we're trying to hit that sweet spot, right?
That's interesting. there are some tools like you mentioned them, like 5 terabytes and so on, to get data into your data warehouse. But what's interesting with Ingestion is that it's easier to build some connectors when you need to build them yourselves, and to have a central governed way of doing it, right?
Exactly.
So
And
yeah,
you get the same abilities from Ingester with your Python assets as well, which means you write a few lines of code that calls an API, returns a response, restructures it, and then just returns a data frame. And then we take care of uploading this into the data warehouse, deduplicating that, doing incremental uploads, doing delete insert, or merging based on primary keys, etc. So we take care of the complexity, and then you can simply focus on writing whatever logic that needs to be written. Is this magic? No, you could have written this. Everyone could have written this, right? But do they need to if it exists? I think not, right? So that's where we're trying to add value for those kinds of companies.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have discussed a lot of topics about code versus no code, and this is a special topic. And I think we will see both in large enterprise, both
Yeah,
teams, or different teams using no code and code solution as well to build at the end product solution. And
absolutely.
yeah, so I think it's a complementary way to develop pipelines. I think it's good. So now, what is your call to action? Because you're an open source company, so your idea is to recruit, hire, and motivate people to use your product, right? So how can we
Exactly.
do that? How can we start with you and work with you?
So effectively, the first thing that you could do is, let me share this part of the screen, where a lot of our stuff are open source, right? So you can simply go to our GitHub organization, GitHub/Bruin-data, where you see both Bruin CLI and Ingester, rather popular open source projects, where you can run a single command to get them running locally, and then immediately start with some of our test pipelines. This would allow you to effectively play with Bruin, run a DuckDB pipeline, run it against your data warehouse, see if it actually makes sense, and see if I lied or not, if it actually works or not, And then at that point, it should be rather easy to understand what part of your stack this fits into and what sort of value that Bruin can generate for you, right? At that point, we also have a Slack community that people can join and can start asking questions, immediately directly talk to us as well, and also share feedback there. One of the things that I believe we are in an advantageous position to do is, there's probably a lot of things that are missing in Bruin and Ingester, but we are also at a size and point in time where we can act very quickly on those missing bits, which means if there's a valuable connector for someone to add more value to the rest of the stack, I'll be the first one to implement. Instead of asking and creating an issue in an existing project that gets prioritized, etc., if they tell me, I'll give them a couple days that I'll actually implement this and solve their problems, right? So this is sort of like the strength that we have at this point in time, and with our size and agility in that sense. People can immediately start running them anywhere. They do not need us at all. They do not need to talk to any of my team. They do not need to have any commercial conversation at any point. All of these are open source with very permissive licenses, and people can run them wherever they want.
Okay,
do you
yeah.
okay? Do you envision to do like a DLT do? It means that you have a lot of things in the open source product and you provide consultancy to
I
build them.
I do not intend to. So instead, we want to provide open source products and the commercial offering that makes it as seamless as possible to run these products, but we do not intend to provide consultancy around this.
Okay. Quick question about the different components. So ingestion, okay, I understand that you are ready to do that. On the other side of the solution, the data quality and the data governance, what's the scope of what you can do with those components?
Absolutely. So data ingestion, the journey starts with data ingestion, then goes into data transformation, and then quality and governance sort of wraps all of these different bits, in my opinion. So the first thing we do with regards to quality is both data ingestion, data transformation with SQL, and data transformation with Python, all of these types of assets have the same abilities to run same types of quality checks, which means the first thing you can do with Bruin is that the moment you ingest data from an external source, you can run quality checks on them before anything else executes, right? This allows you to have a great amount of trust in the data that you receive before it feeds into the rest of your data ecosystem internally. And you can do the same with Python, you can do the same with SQL. And to complement all of these, you can use our built-in quality checks, or you can write custom quality checks using SQL as well, right? You can use Jinja in them, you can do a lot of other stuff, yeah? And this means the quality aspect here starts from the source, goes all the way down to the cleanest forms of data you have internally, right? In the future, we might likely expand this further into even dashboards that you can run quality checks on, right? So this means quality is a first-class citizen in these pipelines. It's not a separate tool. It's not something that you have to plug in externally, etc. It's part of those pipelines. It runs within the pipeline. It by default, it blocks even the execution if they don't pass, so that data doesn't leak into. And the governance on the other aspect complements these by allowing people to define rules that pipelines should adhere to, allowing them to see costs associated with all of these assets, allowing them to document everything in the same place, allowing them to define sort of documentation rules where things need to pass a certain threshold to be able to go to production, etc. Which means quality tooling gives the ability, governance tooling gives the tooling to set that baseline quality and all the other things around that. We have various reports, various policy abilities, various other different bits that people can run all of these pipelines. Bunch of these are, everything around the quality and all the others are open source. And on the commercial part, on the cloud part, we have additional reports, additional visibility for more enterprise settings for larger teams, etc.
Okay, so your enterprise version is a SaaS version, a hosted version, or what?
Exactly, it's a hosted version. It's a hybrid. We're going towards a hybrid future where we host the control plane and customers can host the data plane on their infra, but we're not 100% there yet.
Okay, good. This is the plan. Okay, so Thank you. We are at almost 35 minutes. Thank you for that. Maybe you have one more slide to present, or a poll, maybe one more question before we stop.
Right. It was great, Burak. I was really pleased to have this conversation with you and with Stefan. And thanks a lot for inviting us, Stefan.
Yeah, and thank you to you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Burak. And congratulations, Burak, for having such solution after 12 months of development. I'm very curious to see what will be next. So let's talk again in 6 months from now and see where we are.
Absolutely. Stefan, thank you very much for having me. Paul, both of you, I appreciate the questions and the conversation. It is really lovely to be here. So thank you. And let's see what the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months are going to bring.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.